They need the money, but they also need them. They got to walk that line. That's very difficult for them. If you talk to Republican strategists, they'll talk to you about this all day long. They do endless polling of these people, trying to figure out how do we keep them while pandering to them. We cannot afford to lose them. One of the reasons the Republicans lost the last election was that the Democrats have been pulling more and more money from rich people. Now you can see why, because the Democrats are more and more cozy with those people, and so they're getting the money. They're paying the price, they're getting the money. For the Republicans, that's death. The Democrats have a big mass base. If you can match that mass base with the money, they can afford to lose the conservative part of the Democratic base because the money will replace those people. So that's the Democratic strategy, and I think Boehner, how do you say his name? Boehner, sorry. Well, it's not spelled like that, right? No. Oh, I see, you couldn't possibly pronounce it. Took a moment, sorry. I think he is straddling that, and he made a decision. He probably understood that it would freak out those who are creatures of this group of people and who want to sustain them.
It would freak out Mitch McConnell in the Senate.
Yeah. I think that probably reveals a split right down all through the layers of the Republican Party, state by state and on the national level, as they try to navigate that. Because, you know, in America, elections are settled by a swing of 5 to 10% of the vote each time. You know, a mass of people vote one or the other party, and then there's the swing, and everybody's geared at maneuvering this small group of people because of the winner-take-all. Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen when China tries to claim its investment?
Claim it's which?
You know, after buying all the securities, I mean, they own a hunk of America. What do you think is going to happen when they try to?
At this point, from everything I can tell, the Chinese leadership has the view that it is not in their interest, neither now nor in the foreseeable future, to ruffle the boat. That is, it is in their interest to keep the American economy going. It is important that you all understand how dependent the American economy is on China. It is not just that the Chinese produce all the clothing and appliances and all the stuff that we all know we buy from them. Just as important is we send all those dollars over there to pay for the stuff we buy. They could have used the dollars to buy American goods. They didn't. They could have cashed in the dollars for other currencies, which would have collapsed the value of the dollar. They didn't do that either. They lent the money back to the United States. They did not use the money to build the Chinese economy. They used the money to invest in the United States. China is the largest lender to the United States Treasury in the world. The money the United States uses, for example, to fight the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that China opposes are paid for with the money that the Chinese lend here. And the Chinese do that not out of any peculiar confusion. They know exactly what they're doing. If that money wasn't lent into the United States, it would weaken the ability of the United States to buy the stuff from China. They have been able to do something no communist government, not Russia, not Eastern Europe, have been able to do. They have been able to develop a powerful industrial base in 25 years. And the reason they did that was they could produce and sell in the United States. They have to keep that going as long as their presumption is it won't be us, it'll be the Americans who destroy this arrangement. And then we won't have them to sell to. And then we're going to have a lot of problems because the Europeans are not going to allow us to dump all that stuff there either. So where are we going to, we're all geared up. The Chinese industrialization is an industrialization to produce for the US market. If that market were ever shut down, it would be a catastrophe for them. So they have every interest in keeping this game going for as long as possible because it's what's made them.
But it seems as though it wouldn't last that long, so.
No, I think the Chinese are smart, and the Americans too. Anything could destroy this. A real conflict politically, this might stop. Somebody get into power in China who wants to dicker with this, to reduce the amount of lending to the United States. That could cause the United States to retaliate in some way. That could spin out of control. I think they're very aware that this is a fragile arrangement. But both sides have an immense interest in keeping it going. For the American side, it's not just that we're all used to Chinese goods. For the American capitalist, here's the calculation. I can get away with paying American workers less than I otherwise would, because those workers won't complain, since they can go to Marshall's and they can buy clothing for nothing. The only reason you can go to Marshall's, the only reason there is a Marshall's, is because of China. If American capitalists didn't have cheap Chinese clothing, they'd have to pay American workers the extra money to buy clothing made someplace else. They don't want that. That is crucial. 35 years ago, there was no Chinese industrial miracle. And 35 years ago, Walmart was a small Arkansas department store. Over the last 30 years, China became an industrial powerhouse. China knows how to produce, but China could never have distributed across America. They had no way to do that. They needed a partner, and they found the partner, Walmart. Walmart was crucial to China. Walmart and China are each other's brothers. Their bond is much better than the bond of either of them with the United States government, and I mean either of them. Walmart is a conservative family, the Walton family, but they are in bed in all the senses of the term with the Chinese. They meet 3 times a year at a resort in China, the head of Walmart and the Prime Minister of China, and they work the policies out. And they've been doing that for 30 years. They need each other. When you go into Walmart, you're going into China. Very important. So that's simple. Walmart is the largest employer in the United States. Walmart would never have been Walmart without China, any more than China wouldn't have been China without Walmart. They understand that, as all businesses do. They want to control that. They want to keep that going. The biggest force in Washington to make sure the United States does nothing to anger the Chinese is not the Chinese. It's the Waltons, and not those television people either. The Waltons are the best friend China has in the halls of power in Washington. So I understand what you're saying. It's a very dangerous situation. But for the time being, both sides are very eager to keep that going, to cultivate that, not to ruffle that, not to threaten that in any way, because they both need it so bad. Sir, I know you've been trying to...
Do you think without significant change in the economic downturn that the capitalist system will inevitably collapse? And when, if so, when?
You know, the old joke, if I knew that, I'd be out selling advice to people. Inevitability has been a really bad trip for the left. You know, people who are having trouble winning political struggles console themselves by saying, well, it looks like we're losing, but eventually, or inevitably, we will win. This hasn't worked out too well for the left, so I have no idea. Inevitability is one of those concepts that doesn't compute in my head. So I don't think there's any inevitability of anything. I think capitalism is a very fragile, unstable system, and that the people who live in it and suffer from it are sooner or later going to have to decide what to do about that. And that's going to provoke all kinds of troubles. You know, I don't think Americans, even despite not having heard much about it, I think a lot of Americans know something happened in France last week. Kind of a vague idea. The New York Times did in fact put a picture on the front page of that edition, I think it was last Wednesday, so a week ago tomorrow. They put a front page picture of the streets of Paris thronged with demonstrators and so forth. And there was a lousy story buried inside, but nonetheless there was something. People are going to hear more and more about this. And there's going to be a lot of stories come the 29th of this month when all of Europe explodes. There are going to be real troubles in these countries. If Sarkozy continues to push, then there's going to be pushing back. They've now added a new demonstration, I believe, either the 18th or the 23rd.
25th.
What?
25th.